Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome along to episode 99 of the Sofamanager Scottish Football Podcast. I see that John's just circling double underlining, as I might have got that slightly wrong already in our first take. Anyway, on this week's episode of the Sofamanager Scottish Football Podcast, we are giving the SPFL Premiership teams a little bit of a school report. Woo-hoo. Yes, we've got John here who's gone all Clive Tidsleydale on his notes here. Who? That's how you say his second name, isn't it? Tidsleydale? Yep, I should have gone for now. Martin Tyler on his commentary notes. Ian Crocker would have been an easier one to say as well. So we're going to be hearing all about who is above par, who is below par, and who's on par. Of course, PGA Major this weekend in the golf as well. We'll also be revisiting the tale of splitting the old firm, which has happened in recent times, and some interesting facts about who would have benefited from that in the past. Another few odds and ends we're going to go on to as well. Our famous, now famous, infamous maybe, infamous quiz, Euro or okay, right, we're still working on that. It's a work in progress. It is a work in progress. Returns. I have a fresh pack of tops. Hold on. For all those ASMR fans out there, some top stickers that we're going to open and see what is contained within. Anyway, joining myself, Paul, on this week's show is Mystic Meg in person herself. It is John. Hello, John.
Hello, Paul.
Now, some of your predictions from last week's podcast didn't quite pan out, did they?
I think all of them didn't pan out.
Okay. Good thing you're not a betting man, eh?
Kate Abdo of Sofamanager.
Yes. I don't know. Am I offended by that? Are you bringing the glitz and glamour?
Well, you can be Michael Richards if you want.
Oh, I don't know if I can pull that off. Anyway, let's get straight on with the show, shall we? That was great banter, as Partridge would say.
It all goes downhill from here.
Right. Yes. A little bit of a different backdrop this week, by the way, if you're watching the video. I have two new... it's my annual purchase is the MK Dons shirt.
Yeah.
And a lot of people won't like that, but it's the brand of the sponsorship that appeals to me. And this is prime time to buy MK Dons shirts. John, do you know why?
Well, it must be like 70% off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Charlton's exactly the same.
Well, but do you know... Did you see the playoff news that they were comprehensively thumped?
I watched most of the game.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a doing.
Well,
an absolute doing.
I didn't even know that Crawley Town... Was it Crawley Town?
Crawley Town.
I didn't even know they were in League 2. So...
Yeah, yep.
That was news to me, but 70% plus an extra 30% off on top. So these were about £13 each.
That's pretty good going.
Plus a little bit of postage. Yeah. I didn't have a blue one before, so there they are. You, of course, have turned up in uniform as well, and what I said was Neat Pro.
Neat Pro is Dynamo Kiev.
Dynamo Kiev. Oh, Kiev, right, okay, pronounce.
I go get Kiev, it's not Kiev.
Yes.
I call it that.
Well, I'm sure some of our listeners won't appreciate such an outfit, but we're not making political statements here on the Sofamanager Scottish Football Podcast.
I don't know if YouTube's still broadcast in Russia.
Oh, well, probably not. Anyway, Celtic obviously won the league this week.
Bally for them.
Yes, they're very happy with that. Brendan Rodgers was thrilled with that. And we were kind of going to work through the sort of Premiership table. It seems to be pretty static now.
I think it's pretty much set. The only position that's really kind of left is the playoff position.
Relegation
really,
playoff,
the critical bit. The relegation side.
Which playoff is that, John?
The Premiership Championship one.
Yeah, it's just Premiership. It's not Premiership Championship. It's just the Premiership playoff.
Just is.
Although you do get relegated to the Championship if you do lose it. So, see your thinking. Right. So, are we going to start from the bottom, work our way up, or are we going to start from the top and work our way down?
Start at the top.
Well, you said flip a coin, but your note starts from the top. So I'm revealing the behind the scenes. Yeah. Who finished first again this year?
Don't know. You just mentioned them, I think. Though.
Oh, did I? Celtic.
So, I don't know about yourself. I have them as being pretty much on target. So it's a B+.
Well, in terms of the Premiership campaign,
yeah, they've done what they needed to do in the league, which was win it.
Yep.
They got to the final of the League Cup, which they lost. No, they didn't. Sorry, my bad. What a start. They got pumped out by Kilmarnock in the second round.
There you go.
They have made it to the final of the Scottish Cup. Get my cup mixed up the wrong way round. So there was a chance for double.
Yep.
Which for Celtic is, you win a league, you win a cup, jobs are good in. that's,
I suppose,
that is the par.
Yeah.
So you're on target. Their European run was iffy. I think you could probably look
it's
at it
been
that way.
iffy for the last
It has been iffy for a long
decades.
time. But this was Atletico Madrid draw and a heavy loss. Lazio 2 losses. Feyenoord, they won at home, which was the last game in the group, and they lost in Rotterdam. So what, 3 points? 4 points.
The thing about their, especially the European campaign, you're always going to compare it to Rangers who've had these deep Europa League runs, but then you can't really compare it to that because it's not the same.
Yeah, because when you can actually look at that group, it's a very good group. I mean, Atletico got quite far into the competition.
Aye.
Lazio had come off a really good season previous year, kind of tailed off in Serie A this season. And Feyenoord, I believe, had won the league the season before. So that was a very tough group. And to try and finish third would have been a really good achievement. So again, they've done what you would expect out of that group. So again, on target. They haven't embarrassed themselves quite as much apart from the 6-0 loss. These things happen.
As an Aberdeen fan, I know that for a fact.
Exactly. Poker fan as well. So that's fair enough. It's as you were for them, I suppose.
I'm going to be critical,
right?
And I'm going to say they're probably. I think they should have absolutely tanked this league.
They should have. Yeah.
I think that Rangers, who we'll get to in a wee second, have really been in a bit of an iffy state this year. A team that were very much in transition, a lot of signings in the summer, a lot of new players, and not many of them have really panned out. There's been a few injuries there as well. Now a change in management, which seems to have them on a steadier footing, but they've still lost some of the big games recently with him at the helm. So I think that they should have been further away from Rangers than they are. Now, does that matter? No, not one bit, not one jota.
Right.
Also, anyway, not there anymore. And again, I think if you want to make these big Champions League pushes, I think this is what gets me about the Old Firm is you don't need to spend any of your energy thinking about the Premiership. You can spend a lot of time in preparation for the European leagues, and they still really, really struggle for a number of reasons. I know. Indeed,
I mean, finances, obviously, that's what they will be screaming at if they're watching it. There's a difference between them and the rest of Europe. Fair enough, I get that, because we get it when we look above to them. That's
I have more to delve into in these two later when we talk about trying to split
absolutely, them. We'll take a deeper dive into that. I would say it's on target. I mean, like you say, the history books will show that they won the league.
Yes.
These kind of things.
A few times.
The interesting thing about what will happen to them in the summer. If you're Brendan Rodgers, would you kind of stay? If you're Celtic, do you want him to stay, given that David Moyes is now going to be a free agent?
Yeah, but what? I mean, he's got a European trophy under his belt now.
I don't know if David Moyes would necessarily want to move to Celtic at this point in his career.
But you can't sack Rodgers with the record he's had this season.
That's exactly it.
He's comfy, the club are comfy, and that's what Celtic like, stability. And that's what he brings.
To be fair, if he gets a full summer this season, to actually mould what a Brendan Rodgers team is in his mind, get rid of a lot of the kind of deadwood, because they have signed a lot of players this season who have not been up to scratch.
I think both
you might see a return to the kind of formidable Brendan Rodgers team from his first time round. Who knows? But yeah,
he has something to prove there. Right, second place, the Rangers.
Rangers underperformed.
Yeah.
There's no... Yeah, if you haven't won the league, you've underperformed it. Yeah.
And I think the fans who are very critical of them will say the same. Said my piece there on them kind of being a bit unstable. There's been a new ethos of a move to sort of younger players to develop them into, which has worked in previous times. But it is interesting to see, like, for example, the likes of Calvin Bassey is now left and is not actually the superstar that he looked on that Europa League campaign.
He looked a world beater. The move to Ajax was a bad move. Was it Ajax he went to?
I think it was,
went to the Netherlands. He's involved in Fulham now, so it's fine. He's a Premier League player.
Yeah,
English Premier League
just
player.
About.
For Rangers, I think it's concerning. I think moving forward. I mean, I don't think Clement's really the man you really want.
Ooh.
Genuinely. You've got to kind of look at, he still has a squad. You should be able to get that squad up for some of these games. I mean, the performances against Rangers performances against Celtic haven't been great. They have bottled it in certain games. That's a concern now. I don't know whether that's on the players maybe, but from a manager point of view, I mean, he should be really pushing this a bit further. I'm curious to see what happens with them, because there is such a gap. If Celtic open the purse strings, Rangers don't have the finance to keep up, in my opinion.
Okay.
So it's going to take a lot of effort from this guy, and I don't know if he's necessarily the guy to do it. Genuinely, I have no idea who else is out there who would do it, but I don't know. I don't think he's the man. He might be, but there's just something about him. I was just like, I can't take to him.
He started really well.
He started quite well.
Definitely had some higher standards and things like that. But as that sort of new manager thing tailed off, it's kind of rumbled back to kind of where it was.
Yes, and you are comparing him to Michael Beale, who basically bombed the Rangers and then went to Sunderland and bombed them. It was.
You see, there was a rumour that he had his own Twitter account to agree with his own statements and things like that.
Really? So he's the one that's been running like kind of Chinese butt farms.
I don't know about
Michael
that.
Beale wing. Like.
We should try that with Sofamanager. Thumbs up, great content this week.
The only thing I would say about Rangers season this season, they have won the League Cup, beat Aberdeen. Their European run actually wasn't that bad.
No, they did go pretty far.
That kind of comes into it, you go, well, maybe they were a little bit on target, but they actually lost the league, so they've underperformed. But again, they've done quite well in Europe, which is good for the coefficient, I suppose. But I don't know, there is something not right at that club. Really, really fundamentally wrong. I'm sure there's Rangers podcasts out there who will explain it further for you. But
indeed. So third place, Hearts, underperformed.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Should be miles ahead. They should be on the coattails of Rangers and Co.
No.
Come on.
They're on target.
No, they're not.
They are.
They are not. I'm not having it. This is going to come into my debate later, but
I mean, in the league, they've done exactly what they expect them to do.
No.
Shanklin's had an amazing season. That's great. They did start off quite slowly, I'll give you that.
Aye.
So maybe they should be a little bit further ahead, but there's no way that we're going to be near Rangers or Celtic this season.
Who was
any
it?
Other season.
Is it Kilmarnock in fourth?
Kilmarnock's in fourth.
Hearts must have double the budget of Kilmarnock.
I never thought of that. Yeah, maybe.
Right. Now, they in turn probably have half to even less than that budget of Rangers, to be fair.
You can't compare them to Kilmarnock though. You're comparing them to like Aberdeen and Hibs.
Well, no, you can't, because they're locked in a cage.
They've had a shocking season. They weren't, by comparison.
No, they weren't allowed to play in the same zoo because they weren't good enough, in fairness.
One's in Blair Drummond and one's up in Edinburgh.
Yeah. Yeah, but, they have, right, a really established group of players that they've had together for quite a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much better than that. If you look at, as we say, the Rangers team's in flux. I'm going to come back to it later, but Aberdeen did it back in the day. I'll know that there's a lot of nuance to that story as well. But a big part of it was keeping the team together for a long time. Hearts have had this team together for a long time and haven't delivered anything. Really.
I think that's a bit harsh.
They haven't delivered anything. Have they won a trophy?
No.
Have they progressed apart from automatic qualification to Conference League? No. What have they done? Nothing.
But what else can you expect?
Nothing. Something, John. A trophy. A qualification. A knockout. Beating Rangers. Something.
Winning a trophy in Scotland, that's an overachievement. Because you have to.
St Johnstone did it.
Rangers,
loads. All the time.
Yeah,
St Johnstone. Loads of trophies.
Massively overachieved.
Exactly.
So, Hearts are on target. They have finished where you expect them to finish.
Behind. We need to have higher expectations of Hearts.
They've made the semi-final of both cup competitions, which is what you should expect from a club that size.
You're Marooney. You're not Bruni. That's what.
Marooney, aye.
You're defending them.
They're on target. It's fine.
I think, Joe, I jest. I do think they should be closer to Rangers and Celtic than they are. I do think they should have been. There was a few times that Rangers really dropped the ball, and I think they could have been nipping at their heels. I'll
maybe concede that point, particularly in the cup semi-final, Scottish Cup semi-final.
Yeah,
they had an opportunity there and they probably blew it.
Yeah,
that was disappointing for them. I'll give you that. Nevertheless, they did get to that stage and they did have that platform to go and do something.
And you would rather be in their position than Hibs. I think Aberdeen are actually looking alright for the future.
When we get to Aberdeen, I had a real conflicting thought about Aberdeen.
Oh, right, okay. Right, Kilmarnock in fourth.
That's an overachievement, eh?
I don't know. Again, squad, good players, been together for a while. They even bought Van Veen in January.
Yeah.
Couldn't get in the team.
This is it. I mean, they've done remarkably well. I mean, I had a quick look back. I mean, so their fourth place finish only just about kind of was emulated in 18-19 season when they finished third.
18-19.
Yeah.
Oh,
2018, not 19.
I was like, football didn't exist in 18-19. Right, I get you now. Sorry,
So-
I'm with you.
They go to the quarter-final of both cups.
Yes.
A little bit unlucky against Aberdeen, and they lost to Hearts as well in the League Cup. You know, not bad. And they beat Celtic in the League Cup, as I had a kind of faux pas earlier on.
Yes. Big achievement.
So I would say best. It's an overachievement. Congratulations to them. They go to Europe. They'll have their 2 legs against some jobber from
Wales.
Moldova.
Probably Wales.
Or Wales or Ireland. Or it was somewhere you don't want to go, basically.
Yeah.
And I'll be back to mediocrity next season.
I fully agree. I think this actually shows what a tremendous manager Derek McInnes is,
100%.
unfortunately. Now, there's 2 former Aberdeen managers that are going to appear in this top 6 list. And again, I remember at the time I said, I agreed with the sacking of them because I said that they've taken them as far as they can get. We need to go for more.
The next level.
And then when you actually look at that statement, we've got as far as we can get, let's go for more. That doesn't fly.
Nah.
No.
There's a glass ceiling.
Yes, indeed. So no, they've had a tremendous season. I would agree, above expectation. But they have probably now set the new expectation going into next season.
They've got a lot to live up to next season for sure. Sort of 5th place is all but confirmed for St Mirren. Again, I've had them as a bit of an overachiever.
Yep.
Again, good league position. I think they're going to Europe this season for next season as well, which is good for them. Again, they're going to have their 2 legs playing something random. It's been an incredible season actually. I went really quite far back. It was sort of really kind of like with the 79-80 season to the 84-85 season, where I think they also won the Scottish Cup in and around then, where they had a kind of series like 3rd, 4th, 5th place finishes.
Okay.
And then from that point, it's basically been crap, comparatively. So they've now, after 40 odd years,
come back
to that position, and fair play to them. And they seem to be doing things a lot of good things. Like their fan base is actually pretty decent. They get good support. New stadium, which
actually, just depressing. That's probably like 10 years old now, isn't it?
It probably will be, because I remember being in the old Love Street. I would have been 03 or 04. God, you really set my mind back now. When would that have been?
That's depressing. Anyway,
it was built after the Falkirk Stadium, but not by much.
That's probably a slightly better venue.
Yeah, to be fair, that is exactly what Falkirk should have done.
Yep.
But
anyway,
live and learn.
I've always said in the podcast, I'm a big Stephen Robinson fan. I actually wanted Aberdeen to get Stephen Robinson when they were looking for a new manager. I thought he did a tremendous job at Motherwell. That sacking kind of passed me by a wee bit. I kind of wasn't fully looking at the football world at that time, and he'd done so well. And he's gone to St Mirren, done exactly another good job with, again, bunch of young players. Some established names and things, a few foreigners in there. It's just a really good mix that's done really, really well.
This is it. I mean, again, can look at their stats a little bit. They've not had a prolific striker either.
No.
It's all goals being kind of spread around the team. So it kind of shows, they're not heavily reliant on one player, as opposed to like maybe Aberdeen, for example, who heavily reliant on Majowski.
You've not been watching them recently, John. We've plucked a high school 4th year
16-year-old basically.
We'll get to that later.
The same as Kelly, they've had a really good season. They have set the bar now for next season. It'll be interesting to see whether they can keep up. 6th place, Dundee. Again, I've got them as an overachiever, purely in the fact that they've basically came up and instantly found themselves into the top 6. And this is after they sacked their manager during the summer and brought in, was it Tony Docherty? That's incredible. You're expected it to be like absolute bedlam in Dundee, as it usually is.
They did manage the utter shambles of delaying that Rangers game until the last moment, which made it still possible. Actually, they didn't need that game in the end to get to the top 6, did they?
I don't think they did. No, that was...
But they darn well held it off to make sure that they still got that. Which,
fair play.
It got them in the end, didn't it?
A lot to be said for sporting integrity in this country.
Well, out the window.
It's been, I think it's been a bit of kind of a lively time at Dens. I mean, I think they've conceded the 3rd most goals in the league, still finished top 6. So, what interest they are. They've got a couple of really good players as well, like Luke McCowan looks a really good player. Lyle Cameron, I think, is going to have a really great career if he can stay injury free.
Great footballing name, that.
He's class. I mean, I've seen him watching the kind of Friday night championship games last season. It's been really good to see somebody like that kind of step up into the Premiership and continue to develop.
That's good. Don't see it much anymore,
you don't
actually.
really see that too often. He's kind of really a real standout in that. It'll be interesting to see where he goes in the summer if he does stay at Dundee or whether he makes a move elsewhere. Again, he's one of these kind of guys, you maybe like to see him go abroad. Maybe go to Italy and learn that, kind of go down that kind of technical ability route. See how he goes there. You know, going to the continent and hopefully again develop and maybe kind of follow in Lewis Ferguson's steps, for example, and really make a name for yourself, as opposed to just going down into the English Championship. He's got a good career in front of him.
I was about to compare him because the last person I really remember thriving up from the Championship would have been someone like Kevin Nesbitt, who
is absolutely collapsed. I think he's actually been sacked from Millwall.
Has he? Well, he smashed it at Wraith, did really well at Dunfermline, then got his Hibs move after doing his sort of apprenticeship down there. Again, was not something we really see. Nope, agreed. Fantastic season. Tony Docherty, former Aberdeen assistant coach, doing absolutely fantastic, which smarts a little bit.
Well, we'll get to Aberdeen now, shall we? Why not? I think this is going to be quite a discussion point. Because like I say, I had a bit of kind of conflicting thought on this as to have Aberdeen had an underperforming season, which I ultimately settled on, or on balance, has it just about kind of been kind of on target-ish?
I think
within the league position really is what to judge it on.
If we are looking at the league position here and you look at the talent in the squad, you have to say they underachieved
as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, they are, I would say they're behind Hearts, maybe on par with the Hibs, something like that. This is one of the bigger playing budgets in Scotland. Big international names, particularly Miovski and things like that, who still got into, I think, the PFA Player of the Year.
Yeah, I think it's 26 goals in all competitions.
Sensational for being a non-old firm striker, really. So yes, I think from that perspective, they have definitely underachieved. But again, there's been a lot of different circumstances.
It's huge. I mean, it's really, really funny looking at certainly the league results.
Yeah. They've really struggled for long spells.
It starts off not bad. Like, it's not great, but it's not bad. And you've got to factor in the fact you've been playing in Europe at that time.
They did all right in Europe.
They did all right. I mean, they got kicked out by Hacken in the Europa League playoff,
which was frustrating. So, yes, they had that blimmin' tricky striker, who were winger, who then actually transferred to, I think, Holland, and they blimmin' kept him for that game.
Pretty much.
I remember that. Bringing me that.
And then you actually got drawn into quite a tough group when you think about it as well. But like Frankfurt, Helsinki, which is the team you kind of should have done better against, and PAOK Salonika, who had papped Hearts out.
Previously, that again was very frustrating, and I don't give them a pass on that because they didn't do very well. They did actually quite well against Frankfurt when they played them away.
So that was the very first game.
It was the very first game, and actually I think because they played valiantly against Frankfurt, but I think they drew at home.
They won the home game.
They won the home game,
which was the last game, which meant absolutely
nothing.
And either team in that stage.
Yeah, the Helsinki game I remember being a close affair, and they got a point off of Salonika, didn't they?
Yeah, so I think it was a draw and a loss. They lost at home,
and drew away.
They drew home and away to Helsinki, which killed them.
Yeah.
If they got 3 points out of that,
they could have gone through.
They might have squeaked through. Might have.
So that's frustrating because that was a chance.
They had a reasonable window opportunity to make it into the last. Because what would that be, 32 or the 16? First round of 16.
Well, see, I think a major problem with this campaign has been that they signed so many of these international names, like Gartenmann came in, Sockler came in, Richard Jensen came in. I think they all have to be internationalists now pretty much for visa reasons, don't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Jensen definitely played against... Did he play against Scotland? I think he did play against Scotland fairly recently for Denmark or something. Anyway, signed all these big international names. They're there for one reason, to put themselves in the shopping window at the Europa Conference League.
Yeah, for England to have a look at them as well.
Potentially, yes. And after that, they're probably not as motivated to do as much. A lot of them are actually picked up towards the end of the year, to be fair. And I think Barry Robson, as much as I like him as a person and he interviews really well and stuff, he's a motivator, and he's probably not quite there as a technician yet.
I don't think he's there as a head coach.
He could get there, I think.
Maybe.
He didn't really want that job in the first place.
Nah, they held on for too long, and then the recruitment of Warnock...
Oh, it was a total disaster.
It's a total disaster.
That was
in hindsight
so daft.
As well, it was a horrendous move. I mean,
Peter Leaven didn't want the job either, really.
He really didn't want the job. I still don't think he wants the job, really. He was in hospital with a heart.
He had an operation just before, like the day before a game or the day off. Yeah.
I mean, I'll hold my hands up and say when the announced Warnock, I thought that could work. That's quite an interesting move. Like he
brought in Blimmin' Junior Hoylett though, right?
I mean, listen, his contact book is outrageously good. Like,
and I tell you, if you want a quality footballer, he might not have as much legs yet, but see the quality of the balls that he puts in. It's unbelievable still. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he was really good in the cup semi-final as well against Celtic.
Crossed both the blooming goals.
I mean, that's the other kind of factor that kind of made this a bit more kind of conflicting. Is
the cup.
Like, you did get to the League Cup final and you narrowly lost.
I think that's reflective of the great squad, though. It is a good team that just wouldn't turn up every week.
Just not quite there. And then you ran Celtic right to penalties. So you could have been in 2 cup finals, had a reasonable, less than reasonable showing in Europe, but you still played in Europe.
Yeah.
And finished 7th, which after a European campaign tends to what happens to the Scottish clubs.
Indeed. But
it's the league. It's the league, and it's the period between, I think it was like mid-January to mid-March, where you honestly thought you were going to get relegated.
Oh, it was bad.
So
really bad.
Like,
I still wasn't writing it off like 2 weeks ago. I was like anything. And do you know what? It was funny because I was keeping an eye on the Aberdeen Livingston game midweek, and I was watching the score for like 45, 48, 49, 50 minutes. I was like, no, there's no point in this. Left it, come back, and it's 5-1. And I'm like, what? When you decide to give up on something, it gets really, really good. We're going to be fine next year. Dylan Boyd is going to be the top scorer in the league. He's going to be transferred to Real Madrid for £100 million.
Get Mbappe on a swap deal.
Exactly. They'll stick him back here on loan. So we are absolutely sorted. Slight tangent on that. I do love this time of season when, you're just playing, spare time really, and you are getting to see a lot of the younger players getting the run-outs, changing things up a wee bit. And it's such a shame that we don't see more of that kind of earlier on in the term. And again, tremendous for the 16-year-old lad. Aberdeen actually under 18s won the league, I think.
Yeah, they were saying that on the radio. Aye.
So actually, all the goals I've watched of Aberdeen recently have all been like under 18s highlights and stuff like that. They scored quite a decent goal against Celtic. I think they drew 2 each with them at Pittodrie.
Right, that kind of won the league.
Yeah, a lot of people turned out to see that, so that's fantastic. Aberdeen have been really bad at putting young players in the team, and all the good ones have gone in the team for a really short time and left. The exception to that would probably be Ryan Jack and maybe Scott Wright, you could argue. Peter Pawlett and Co and Wet as well. Loved Peter Pawlett. I miss players like that. Yeah. Anyway.
On the Hibs.
Yeah, sack the manager.
Absolute basket case of a club again.
Oh, do you think this is a sack the manager?
He was done. Like, you could see it in his face.
I did there was a Twitter compilation of him saying he was disappointed. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like after the game.
Sounds a good watch.
It's like, how did you feel? Disappointment. A lot of disappointment. Oh, disappointment. And to be fair, you see him try to fight for it, just trying to get something. And they're saying, I think this is David Gray's 4th or 5th time as caretaker manager. Yeah. Just take the job, Dave, at this point.
He must not want it.
Must not. Well, clearly, they're not in a good place.
They're in a really bad place. Again, they've spent a fair bit of money
on nothing,
on guys who just haven't really showed up. I think 1 or 2 of their better players since from January onwards have been loan signings, so they'll probably go back to their parent clubs. And then who do you bring in? Who's going to come into that kind of club? They've got the Bournemouth guy coming in as well, the owner.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Christ knows how that's going to work out. I mean, that could be an absolutely catastrophe.
I mean, you just filter all the good young Bournemouth players up here.
I can't see it happening. Just, they've got their own academy. Why are you getting involved in another Premier League's academy?
It's the way it's going these days, though, isn't it?
It just sits so wrong, and I don't think it's going to work. Gut feeling again, but
you look.
I don't know if it was it might work, but I don't want it to work because it's just interference in the game, and I don't like that.
Well, you look at the City football group, are now spread all across the world.
Yeah, they had a lot of kind of issues with
Girona.
With Girona, but it's one of the other clubs.
Oh, the French one.
Is it the French one?
I think Troyes.
It's like Troyes, because they signed one of Girona's best players. Well, the City group signed them, allocated it to this club. Escapes my mind. That Club X loaned them to Girona, and he's been battering the goals for fun. And because of that, if he had stayed where he was at Club X, he would have basically kept them up because he was like the kind of prolific player they were looking for.
Well, I get
who that is.
I know that Chelsea back in the day used to be notorious. I think it was Vitesse they used to, who I think are in a bit of a mess themselves.
No, they are now.
So basically, you're the sort of host to feed off for the.
And that's the thing when it's kind of decided, like, a business decision to say
business,
you're not really working out.
Yeah,
and so the carpet's just kind of pulled away from you, and then it all falls to pieces. It's a huge risk. Like I say, if I was a Hibs fan, I'd be worried. It could be brilliant. It could be really exciting.
I find it really hard now.
There's a greater probability it's not going to be though.
Like, previously that you could just sign like John McGinn. You could just sign St Mirren's best player, or Aberdeen years ago just signed Inverness Caledonian Thistle's best players. Hearts take the sort of English rejects or rejects from somewhere, like i.e. Shankland, Kingsley, a few other names like that who have failed somewhere else. And
who've kind of begun to find their level.
Aye, which makes them pretty much impossible.
They're not going to go any higher or lower than they are.
Yeah,
so
you've got target, which works. Darn, that works really well.
It does.
I hate that. I would find it really hard. If you ask me what players would I sign in the Premiership to make Hibernian better, there's no obvious candidates that stand out for me.
Certainly the people that get a hold of, like,
yes,
as we kind of mentioned, like a couple of guys at Dundee, like Leo Cameron and McCowan. There probably would have been a time
they could have nabbed them.
Hibs could have went in for them. Not anymore.
No.
Like the premium on those two guys is already far above what Hibs would be able to do with them. It's a kind of natural progression. That's probably where they should go next. But Dundee are now doing better than them. They're performing better than them.
Got a lot of money behind them.
They could be moving to a new stadium as well. So actually, Hibs isn't all that attractive to these guys now.
Dundee United coming back up as well.
Yep. I mean, if you're at Hibs, I was looking at the odds as well. I think Ian Murray went from 16-1 down to 8-1. So if I was a betting man, I have been going to be in the past. That's where I would put my money. So
Airdrie are going to the playoff final.
There is absolutely zero chance Ian Murray's going to Hibs.
Yeah, I saw McCabe was in there. He was at long odds, but
he was 16. I think it's too much of a jump for him. If Ian Murray get Wraith promoted, his stock's quite high.
But again, they've played a blinder in putting Malky Mackay in as sporting director.
That kind of narrows down the field of players you can really attract. That's for sure.
Okay, yeah. As we say, it's been a disaster for a while. It continues to be a disaster. Motherwell in 9th.
On target.
Yawn. I don't think there's much we can say about them.
Nah,
such a shame because again,
boring.
Under the Robinson era, they were the prodigal, challengers for third. They had deep cup runs, fantastic players. Again, a lot of going in and out of the door. Again, eventually you're just going to run out of luck, and they've run out of luck.
Yeah, they're just going to revert to the mean, I suppose.
Is it Kettlewell is their manager?
Yeah, Kettlewell's still there. I mean, the only two standouts for him has really been kind of Theo Bair and Blair Spittle. Other than that, I have literally nothing to say about Motherwell.
I was a big fan of Blair Spittle. I thought he could have gone further.
Yeah, they've done nothing. What I've kind of got now is kind of like 10th and 11th is County and St Johnstone, because we don't know the outcome of the
which we will know on Saturday.
So when this goes out, you'll know. In effect, whoever finishes 10th, they're on target. Whoever finishes 11th,
they're below target. Yeah,
and that's it. And then again, they've had stinking seasons. Really not good. The only good thing about Ross County is they're now going rid of Malcolm Mackay and they can move on in their lives. Other than that, there's really not an awful lot kind of going up there. And St Johnstone, Christ almighty, I think the football that they produce is turgid. It's really, really bad. Like, even if they do stay up, you'd be hard pushed to kind of go and renew your season ticket if Levine stays, and that's the level that you're watching. It's grim, really, really grim. So they'll probably stay up now.
You've given them the kiss of life, so to speak. Yeah, they haven't looked great this season. Livingston, Stonewall last.
I actually have them on target. I do, genuinely.
They've been beating the odds now for quite some time.
It was destiny for them to be relegated this season, but it was by how much did they make a fool of themselves.
Yeah.
And kind of where credit's due, they've pulled off a few reasonable results
with no money,
zero money allegedly. If you believe, I mean, I'm fully bought into kind of David Martindale's "we have no money."
Yes,
kind of chat.
They have no money. Have you seen the randoms they sign? Like,
yeah, I mean, and they began to kind of get people in pre-contracts as well, which I think is just mad. But you know, yes, they were expected to finish 12th. They finished 12th, but they've not embarrassed themselves. Fine, it was inevitable. Like, do
you think he'll be sacked?
No, he'll stay.
Probably. I mean,
I don't think who else is going to take him.
Yeah, he's in a unique position if it's kind of hard for him to go anywhere else, I think.
By the sense of things, he does more than just manage that team. He does a lot in the background, so he'll stay. Like.
But then, like, you know, I remember, was it Archibald was the manager at Partick Thistle for a long time?
Alan Archibald.
Aye. And then he was put up for really big jobs because he'd done such a good job at Partick. He went elsewhere and it completely failed. There's been a few people like that. So once you find your fit, you find your fit sometimes.
I mean, and the club suits him, he suits the club. He's obviously got his history to kind of consider as well.
Yeah.
You know, the guy, you got to hold your hands up and say the guy's done quite a good job.
He's done a tremendous job.
He's got, like, you know, fair play to the guy. Like,
gone are the good old days of like Dolly Menga and things like that, though. Like, they always did manage like a cult hero.
Absolutely.
That saved them.
The only disappointing thing about this season, really, for Livingston is Joe Newbley's just completely fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing because I think there was a point where I was like, he's going to go do something really, really good, and it's just not worked out for him.
I think a lot of people will miss that as an away day as well, because they used to get such big away crowds because of the unique structure of their stadium.
So, I mean, they're going to lose a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Like, even more money than they're already hemorrhaging just now.
I know. And they already charge quite a lot. It's one of the more expensive tickets in town.
So, they've got the Falkirk with that to look forward to. You know, we're not going to need all three stands.
No, it's not going to be the big money day that you might hope.
But yeah, so that's a report card for the Premiership.
I think that was very good. It was very interesting.
Interesting to look back on.
One of the things that we wanted to talk about now is splitting the old firm, because I think as time goes on, it's funny, football strikes you as less and less competitive, and you think, oh, it's just set in stone. Mm-hmm. And then Leverkusen go and win the league, and then Leicester go and win the league. Leicester are by no means a small team, by the way, and never should we think of them as a small team. But
well, I don't know about that. They are a middling championship team.
Well, they just won the championship, didn't they? So they're not a middling championship team.
There is at least, I remember actually, hold on a minute. I had this argument with somebody not too long ago.
You write it down.
I had Leicester as about the kind of 30th biggest club in England.
I'm not having that.
So there's 29 other teams bigger than them, off the top of my head.
They're much bigger now because of their league title, I think.
They've got a bigger reputation, I suppose. But historically speaking, there is 30 other clubs bigger than them. But anyway, we're going for a tangent. Like, yeah,
I'm now curious to hear the other 29. Tune in the summer to see if Paul can guess the 29 clubs that are bigger than Leicester according to the John scale. So the reason I wanted to talk about this was partly because I think Hearts should be closer than they currently are. And I think there's an opportunity for a Scottish club, if all the cogs fit into the right place and the jigsaw pieces are aligned and the stars have come in the right place and, you know, you've stayed up late enough to see the Northern Lights and all that jazz, I think it would be possible in the current form to unseat Rangers and Celtic.
Right. You would need a lot of cogs.
You do not need lots of cogs.
You do.
Do not need lots of cogs.
The only other thing that could really happen, and it would be tremendously funny if it did, is that basically, like, the 9 other clubs laid down to whatever team, say it's Hearts, and just said, 3-0 win every time.
So,
and it all comes down to those old firm games.
Here's a question, right? See if you put the best player in all the Premiership in each position. So if you had like a PFA player of the team of the year that wasn't the old firm but was best of the rest, would they finish second?
Ooh,
I think yes.
I wish you'd asked me that earlier. I really would have taken a look at it.
I don't know if they would finish first. I think they would finish second. I think this year Rangers could have been beaten.
Damn it, that's a really... We have going to have to discuss this in another podcast.
If we put it, well, we need to put it down on paper.
I'm really thinking, like, right, Craig Gordon in goal. Is he better or worse than Jack Butland?
Better,
marginally. I think Jack Butland's had a great season. Yeah, Christ, that's...
We'll get to it.
You could have a front two of Shankland and Majowski.
I wouldn't put Shankland in there. Anyway, personal preference. Someone for Majowski to play off of more, perhaps. So, you've got some statistics there, John, in terms of, you know, who... it's the argument of should the old firm even be in Scotland anymore?
Well, yeah, I mean, so that kind of... It comes in the back of, should they be split? In my opinion, I don't think they will ever be split. I think Hearts did it in 05-06, which was just bankrolled by the entire financial situation of...
Aberdeen did it twice.
When?
17-18, and
Rangers weren't even really in the kind of league at that stage, were they not?
Yeah, they finished third, John.
They were in their transition.
You can't say it.
They were.
They still had a humongous budget in comparison.
It takes a couple of years to kind of get up the street. Maybe go into that as well. Actually.
You powder off your blue nose there. I'm not having this. No, right. I'm not moving on from this. Right. I looked at it. And to be fair, it is quite interesting. When Aberdeen did it for the 2 seasons, Aberdeen were in their complete prime.
McInnes would have been in charge.
You had Adam Rooney was the main front man, who scored goals for fun in that team. You had Kenny McLean. You had Ryan Christie. You had Johnny Hayes in his prime. You had Niall McGinn in his prime.
Scott McKenna at the back
briefly, like Mark Reynolds for a while. Shea Logan, who was in Teams of the Year, who was the only one to break. I think it was an all-Celtic, and Shea Logan was the team of the season one year. Joe Lewis, who was a fantastic goalkeeper. And again, they had that consistently for a few years, which is why my Hearts argument comes into play. And they're in a similar-ish position now, I think.
But Rangers are stronger than they were.
So, really interested to look at that Rangers team. Lots of people I forgot. Philippe Senderos, who I'd forgot to play for them. I'm going to go through these random names first. Nico Cranshaw, who probably didn't have that much of an impact. Now, the players that stood out to me were people like Lee Hodson.
Joey Barton must have been in about there.
Joey Barton was in and about there. Andy Halliday as well, who I think was a bit of a cult hero, but the quality maybe...
I mean, he's a cult hero in the fact that he was quite a good flute player, I imagine.
Well...
Beyond that, is he a good football player? Probably not.
Yeah, and this was, David Bates was in and amongst there. Jason Cummings was in and about there.
Jesus.
So
it's not that good a team. Like
it's not as good as it is now.
Exactly.
It's not as good as it is now. Now, I don't. They just were in and this was like Graham Murty. Oh, the Portuguese. Pedro Caixinha.
In the hedge.
Well,
in Luxembourg.
Yes. So I had totally forgotten about those Progress Niederkorn results, and I looked at that when I was looking back at these seasons. I was like, how on earth did they get punted out of Europe by a Luxembourg team? Luxembourgians. Anyway, Progress Niederkorn. Who did they play Falkirk a few years before?
No, that was Vaduz.
Vaduz, okay.
That's Liechtenstein.
Oh, Liechtenstein, sorry. I've definitely heard of them before. So yeah, it wasn't the team it was now, but I think you still say that Aberdeen was a sterling team. And I still remember for 1 week Aberdeen actually went ahead of Celtic in the sort of transitional years, and then absolutely bottled it. So yeah.
If Aberdeen had that squad this season, they would have ran Rangers close. I still don't think they would have would have fallen short. That's what happens.
I don't know. Again, it's so hard in Scottish football to maintain consistency. And I think we're in an interesting era because, like previously, all the best players in the league went to Rangers or Celtic, and I don't think that's happening anymore.
Because Rangers and Celtic aren't interested in signing the Scottish players.
I don't think the Scottish players are interested in Rangers or Celtic though, because you look at some of the best young players, and you mentioned it earlier in terms of Lewis Ferguson, Bologna, went to Italy. Liam Henderson, Italy. I think Josh Doig is out there as well.
Doig went to Italy.
McGinn
went to England when he could have went to Celtic. Andy Robertson, when he was even at Hull, he came back, didn't, stayed in England. What a career he's had. Yeah, it's a valid point actually.
Armstrong's not fair because he came from Celtic.
Again, if you're looking at it, as I've just mentioned, Ryan Porteous is probably another one.
Yes.
I don't think he would have necessarily stayed in Scotland. I mean, he's kind of said that himself, but there would have been a time when he should have been a Rangers or Celtic target because he was that quality. Scott McKenna's another one.
Yeah.
He was talked about a lot about going to Celtic.
Celtic was a big one, yeah.
And then, for whatever reason, it never materialised. Whether Celtic were low balling,
they probably wouldn't have paid the money.
And this is it for John McGinn. They never paid the money.
No.
And they've missed out on phenomenal players. I do wonder what kind of career these guys would have had if they did make that switch. Probably would be halfway what they're doing just now, because history suggests if you go to Celtic or Rangers and you are an up and coming Scottish player from the kind of lower reaches, very seldom do you break through. Well, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
See, that's the thing. It's much rarer now. And we saw a few. Aidan Nesbitt was on the Celtic books for quite a while, never pushed through. The one I currently think of is like Liam Scales, who had his loan time at Aberdeen, who's in the squad. I think he's all right.
He's all right in the squad. Christie's maybe one, actually, well, I'm not kind of thinking about it, who...
Well, he was in Inverness, though, wasn't he?
Inverness, but then went to Aberdeen and then...
Well, he was on loan from Celtic. I mean, Callum McGregor has been...
Through the academy.
Through and through. Yeah. It doesn't happen very much anymore, though, and especially, you look at the Rangers squad, you only really have Ryan Jack, Scott Wright, I think Suter as well.
Maybe.
But that's their sort of Scottish contingent.
That's it.
Is
and
what I'm saying.
Not, like, they're not... Scott Wright, in particular, isn't at the level that Rangers should be kind of targeting their players, you know. It's... Yeah, they're in a funny position.
There's a gap.
Yeah.
There's a gap. You get some fine young Scottish players. You keep that Aberdeen under-18 team together for long enough, which might have to happen depending on what happens in the summer. But I do think there's a gap there to be had. And, you know, the likes of Hearts and stuff, you can't have a slow start. You just cannot have a slow start. You are better than these teams. Get it together.
You have to jump in straight away, absolutely. I mean, we're rattling off our time, so I'll maybe kind of skip over some of the stuff I was going to say about basically if the old firm did leave Scottish football, which forever talking about, and we'll forever talk about because it's not going to happen.
Should it have happened when Rangers got papped all the way down? Was there an opportunity there?
I mean, it's probably one for another podcast because it is a real proper deep dive.
Right, who are the beneficiaries?
Right, so basically I've kind of worked through it and went, you know, if Rangers and Celtic never existed, from the kind of post-war period, went through the league, finishing, and who was the best of the rest of that particular year. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 9 or 10 teams there. Aberdeen, with the won 23 league titles, Hearts 17, Hibs 15, Kelly 7, Motherwell 6, Dundee United 5, Dundee 2, Clyde, Dunfermline, Livingston and St Johnstone all would have won a league each.
With Livingston, would that have been in their sort of 90s heyday?
It was the 04, 05.
Oh, right, okay.
When they really spent money. Like, it was like the Italian boy came in, and Steve Lovell, not the Scottish Steve Lovell,
I know who you mean.
Came in. They finished third. St Johnstone finished...
Snodgrass, you know. Clyde is a surprise.
Clyde was kind of like 50s. Dunfermline was the 60s. They had a cracking team in the 60s. Dundee, at least one of Dundee's was actually winning the league.
That's
so some of these are actual league wins. So Hearts have won the league a couple of times. Hibs have won it. It's done in the 50s. Hibs was phenomenal in the 50s. I couldn't believe it. See,
this is what I miss now. It's just the opportunity for something exciting like that to happen.
Because this is when you keep your talent, your Scottish talent. I mean, the famous 5 at Hibs is probably, if I'm talking nonsense, Hibs fans tell me because I might be shooting in the dark. But I'm sure when they were having those kind of league wins and performing as well as they were, that was the famous 5 era.
Right.
And it's just phenomenal.
Yes.
Obviously Dundee had their period. Dundee United was the kind of Jim Leighton. Was Jim Leighton? He was manager.
Oh, Jim. Wasn't it Jim Duffy? The really hard man who punched the reporter in the face.
Yes. So in that his kind of period is when Dundee United were in their heyday and were winning leagues.
Anyway,
his son became
He's very famous.
Yeah.
Aberdeen and Alex Ferguson.
Well, this is it. Yeah. You know. My clubs have, I mean, Kilmarnock winning 7, well, potentially winning 7 leagues. They had a great team in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know,
my problem is I think like the young people now that are growing up supporting these teams are never going to see them do that. Never.
No chance. Like I said, there's like a 99.9% probability that for the rest of the time, Rangers or Celtic will win the league. I mean, the funny thing is, I was talking to my dad this morning about it. If Celtic win the league next season, they equal Rangers 55.
All right.
So there's a lot riding on next season for that. You know, and that's quite a kind of, Rangers are no longer the world's most successful club at that stage.
Oh, they'll hate that.
So next season's really telling, you know.
But we can't keep going like this for 100 years.
This is
boring.
Scottish football's been going for about 150 years or so. And we're basically saying Rangers and Celtic have won the league 110 times between them.
It's not fair, frankly.
Life isn't fair.
Oh, you're quite right.
So that's just a kind of, like I say, I don't want to deep dive into if they moved to England, but that's a podcast in itself. It's probably worth doing, actually. It'd be quite funny to...
Then they would get the good Scottish players again.
You could war game it.
Yes. Right. We will quickly try our quiz feature.
Right.
Euro or you know. Hey. In which... I have
ASMR people.
Yeah, what would you going to call it there?
ASMR.
Yes, that's my ASMR again. So I'm going to hold on tightly. Oh, that went badly.
Oh, that's good stuff.
That you could, if you were to smell it like it is, it's better than stuff I haven't tried before. Right. Who said that? I think that was a Jeremy Clarkson line. That. Oh, John boy.
Oh, God.
Johnny. Right. So the way this game works is John asks me 20 yes or no questions to determine the player that comes out of the packet. I basically take the most recognisable one because there's a few more, actually. This packet's a little bit more recognisable. Oh, yeah, there's one or two here.
Right.
They're not all up the right way, so tops, if you'd like to improve your quality control, feel free to do that. So
you can see that a lot with their cards.
Indeed. Stickers, nonetheless. Right. So again, just to the game, John, by the way, don't just dive straight for players as you did last week. Let's narrow down position, location, club, etc. To make it happen. So
I'm here to win, mate.
20 yes, no questions. I'm going to try and count on my hand because I forgot to count last week. So go.
Right. Are they a goalkeeper?
No.
Do they play in the UK?
No.
Right. Play in Europe. Okay.
Who said they play in Europe?
Ooh. Do they play in the US?
No.
Damn it. Do they not play in Europe?
Yes.
That's not a question.
Oh, yes, it was. You just asked, did they play in Europe? Yes.
That was not a question, that was a statement.
I'm taking it as a question. I'm taking it off you.
Right, play in Europe. I don't want you to start shouting random countries. That's not fun. Are they a striker?
Yes. Ooh. 5. Taking notes. Striker, circled.
Interesting.
Yes.
Right. Do they play in one of the top 5 leagues?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. They don't play in England, so that cancels that one out. Would they play in France? Probably not. Who knows? Do they play in Germany?
Yes. 7. John actually got Germany on the back of a Scotland shirt this week, by the way. Very exciting.
Yeah, not Deutschland. Apologies again from it. JD Sports, by the way, point blank refused to put Deutschland on the back of my shirt because it wouldn't fit.
Too many characters.
Are you kidding me on? It is one letter short in McTominay. How can you not fit that on the back of your jersey?
And also,
that is ridiculous.
Because you're so tall, you get the larger jerseys as well.
Extra large.
There's going to be more room if
I
she's
would have put XXL, and maybe that would have fitted.
Anyway, unlucky.
An hour and a half at the fort in Edinburgh for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. A German striker.
Is that 7?
7.
7. Go. Okay.
Right. So. Did they finish in the kind of top 3, top 4?
Yes.
Right. God. Is that Harry Kane?
Oh, yes. 9 questions. Shiny Harry Kane. I was going to say it was a shiny. I thought that might have given it away. So there's John's pack of cards. There's one or two other recognisable faces in this week's pack. What's the double one?
Oh, they did this slightly in the Euros. So you have like a kind of starting 11. Starting 11.
Okay.
That runs, and it's kind of what your kind of initial lineup would be: goalkeeper, right. So on.
Well, it was Robert Lewandowski there who was recognisable. Nelson Semedo I've heard of.
I would have struggled with Hendricks. Semedo, I would never have got that in a month of Sundays.
Who does he even play for? Is he in the Premier League?
Yes.
Is he a Wolves player? Or am I just saying that because of Portuguese bias?
I'm not even going to try and pronounce that.
Where's he from? Romania. Romanian goalkeeper.
Patrick Wimmer. Don't know. He looks like he's like the Austrian Conor Gallagher.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they call him that in Österreich as well. Very good. Well done, John. You got there quite quickly, in fairness to you.
Only 8 questions. I'll get better than that.
Yeah, you're pretty good. And we narrowed that down nicely.
And had a rant in between, yeah.
You got your JD information out of the way.
Useless.
It is depressing. But you got there in the end, which is the main thing. So, fantastic news. I see you've got some playoff scores written down there from last week.
Oh God, I thought we were going to do this. Right?
Well, I can see them written there. Yeah, John, by the way, was a big perpetrator of Airdrie going on to do very, very well.
I wasn't far away, to be fair.
Well, you were. They got pat up to it the first time of asking.
4-3.
It was close, but still got pat up to it.
So they lost 4-3 in aggregate to Partick.
Yeah.
Partick have now went on to play Wraith.
And they're getting beat at the moment.
Getting beat 2-1.
So it looks
that was after the home leg as well for Partick. So
it looks like they're out.
It does, to be fair. I mean, I watched the game on Tuesday night.
Yep.
They looked a wee bit kind of leggy. Brian Graham looked absolutely gassed. I felt really bad for him at the end of the game. He was sweating buckets.
Did he play the full 90?
I think he played the full 90. I'm sure he played the vast majority of the two quarter-final games as well.
That's a lot.
For a 36-year-old, that's a lot. That's too far. Blaine Olsen scored for Partick though, which was a bit of nostalgia. So we'll see how it goes there. I'm actually not going to make any predictions because that's not really stupid thing to say. Wraith or Partick, probably Wraith. We'll play someone from the Premiership.
Yep.
In terms of League One, again, bottled that. Thanks, Alloa. They got a red card though, so I'm kind of off the hook a little bit. They lost 5-4 in aggregate to Hamilton,
who are now up on Inverness Cali 2-1
as well
of today.
Again, watched that game. Kevin O'Hara's goal is brilliant.
Is that off the back of the keeper?
Yeah. He sees him off the line.
So it happens in ice hockey all the time, by the way.
So unfortunate it hits the post.
Yeah, I know.
Off the back of the keeper, and then their second goal was a bit of disgrace, but anyway, I'm close over that. Inverness came back into the second half. Fair play. That'll be a really, really interesting game. Up in the Highlands. I think it's on Saturday, 5:20 kickoff.
Okay. Well, so on telly.
It will be BBC Alba for sure.
Right. You can watch those highlights now, an iPlayer.
Yeah, so good one. League 1, League 2. But Spartans absolutely annihilated Peterhead 7-2 in aggregate.
Did they?
Yeah.
I did not see that. Jings alive.
5-1 away win up in Peterhead.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, but interesting. They must be kind of feeling. I was going to say they would be feeling confident going into it. Stirling drew 0-0 with Dumbarton. I went to this.
Did you?
I went.
Kept that one quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, just for that invite.
It was a last minute thing. I wasn't going to go. It was like, honestly, 2:30. I just finished my lunch. I was like,
I'm going
to have to go. It was surreal. Really weird sitting there. Like, I was going to go in the away end, and then I thought, nah, I actually fancy Stirling to win.
Okay, that worked out.
So I'm going the home end. 0-0. Like, I've just watched a club get relegated.
Yeah. Like what I said at Stennismuir last week.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel. I felt nothing, obviously. I was just like, oh, well, home time.
Did you see like some management member mouthing "you're sacked" to Derek Young on the touchline?
I didn't see that. He got the bullet no long after.
Yep.
It's a pretty meek end to the season for them.
After the highs of last season.
Yeah.
All gone in one swift
So they were just awful. Like, to be fair, Dumbarton did nothing. They didn't need to do anything. I mean, I've been kind of writing like match reports myself after every game, and you can like get to the point it's like, oh, man of the match. No one. I couldn't think of anyone who had performed even remotely well in that game. It was a waste of time.
You've gone down without a fight there, haven't you?
They have. It was so pathetic. So they've now Dumbarton actually 2-1 up over Spartans. I seen little bits of this game fucking in between that and the Partick game on Tuesday night. Spartans get a goal. It's a great finish. Right, he kind of toe pokes it for the edge of the box, but
is it my great friend Henderson doing the business again?
I can't remember who scored, to be honest.
Is it Blair Henderson as the Spartans one?
Oh God. Yes, Ewan Henderson's at Hamilton.
Right, okay.
And then the only other kind of game that's going on at the moment is East Kilbride and Stranraer, just 2 each after
I watched
the first leg.
Some of those highlights from the Stranraer perspective.
All right.
Really good coverage. Like the camera quality and stuff they have is unbelievably good. And 2 commentators and stuff like that. It looked like a glorious day and a pretty good game for the 2-2 as well. So all to play for down at the stadium in Stranraer.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope Stranraer win, because I watched an interview with
manager of East Kilbride.
Yes, whose name Mick Kennedy.
Oh,
I cannot stand it.
No, nobody likes Mick Kennedy.
But the problem is, it was him. They were kind of doing like one of these kind of half-time kind of PTs, and it was like, League 2 is just the first step, and then it's League 1, then it's the Championship, and then we want to be the best part-time team in Scotland. And I'm going, hold on a minute, your stadium is called K Park Training Academy.
Yeah.
No, just absolutely not. We don't need another club doing this. Like this is what's kind of making a bit of mockery of the pyramid. Is just they've spent far too much money getting to the position where they're at. It just takes one guy to turn and say, I can't be putting any more money into it, and they collapse. And you're going to end up with like another potential Edinburgh City. Christ knows what's going to happen with them.
Indeed. Indeed.
That bugs me.
Quite right. We'll see how those pan out over the weekend, and onward to next week. I think you said the Scotland squad's announced on Tuesday.
22nd, yep.
Tuesday 22nd, so we'll be able to talk about that next.
Should get that on Thursday for Sunday.
Yep. Which I think we will also include, because we saw a video this week of the Scotland living quarters, so we'll talk about that then. That looked quite interesting. And the 200,000 pals apparently you're going to have in Germany.
They'll be at the beer garden, I'll be in the stadium.
Indeed. So anyway, I think it'll be about time for us to round off this week.
It is indeed. Yep.
Fantastic. So if you have enjoyed, do like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Leave a wee comment as to anything you've heard. We always love to respond to those as well.
We're up to 200 subscribers. 200
it's ticked over. It's quite exciting. And obviously we're on episode 100 next week, which is a bit of a milestone.
So it's a proper Scotland one then.
Exactly, yes. So a big milestone to represent there. And again, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and all good podcasting services, if not just the video. I've done a bad job at plugging that at the start, but I'm plugging it now. So it's a thank you for listening and for watching from myself, Paul.
Yeah, cheers guys, all the best.
And have a good evening, a good afternoon, and a good morning. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I didn't mind because it makes me look about the same height as you, which is this lies and nonsense. But right,
the stool,
the stool probably helps. I need to reset. Hold on. I'm not done outtakes in a while. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome along to episode 98. No, it's not.
Is it 99?
It's 99. Is that what you?
Yep, 99.
Right. Okay, ready?
Yep, crack on.